So in a bit of unsurprising news, Google has officially announced Project Tempo. This is their xCloud, PlayStation Now, Google Stadia competitor, game streaming as a platform. Obviously, still a whiles away, and we might not even see it this year due to obvious just delays that we're seeing across the board within game development and deployment. But what is really interesting is how they're going about introducing their platform as opposed to something like Google Stadia. So there's a lot to talk about here. So let's just do it. What's going on, Workforce? Brian here for Work to Game. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Honestly, I think when it comes to cloud gaming, in general, you have people who can use it and you have people who can't because of obviously infrastructure, data caps, fear of ownership, and understanding like this is a titanic shift, or could potentially be. Now, to start off, obviously it's coming in different ways. xCloud, I think, having the best version of it where you can just stream from your home and local console and then expanding itself into the cloud where you really do own it. Like if you can't have access to the internet, you still have your digital games, and they're also pairing that up with Xbox Game Pass, giving you a lot of value right out of the gate. So Microsoft isn't playing games when it comes to the cloud gaming and obviously next generation. What we haven't heard from, hands down, is PlayStation. I was really surprised, obviously, after the PlayStation kind of 5 tech spec presentation, I guess is the best word to describe that, like, you know, generously in regards. But I was expecting we'd hear some kind of conversation about that, especially because they were so out the gate with the purchase of Gaikai, with PlayStation Now, with game streaming, years ago. But beyond Xbox and PlayStation, you still have GeForce Now and you have Shadow PC. These are both, Shadow PC is a cloud gaming, and so is GeForce Now, both kind of doing it differently. And then you have Google Stadia and Amazon Now, which are releasing these console in the cloud solutions. So we have a wide range of case studies here, and at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see what ultimately happens. Just food for thought. EA announced their own cloud streaming platform, and we haven't heard anything about that. So there's obviously lots of interest and lots of money being spent in this area because they feel like they could pick up a whole bunch of customers as internet and infrastructure improves across not just the United States, but especially in a lot of these smaller countries like South Korea, India. India is a huge landmass, but with G5 wireless stuff like that, they're really hoping that they can really increase that bandwidth. If you aren't aware, like with 5G, I said G5, with 5G, you can get like 2 gigs up and down. Like it is insane when it comes down to the bandwidth allocation with just wireless internet. Now, obviously, I'm sure they're going to make you pay for those kind of things. And that is obviously one of the big roadblocks and barriers when it comes to cloud gaming. But here's where all this comes to head. And I really want to focus in on what Amazon's doing differently and compare it to Stadia, because we all kind of see what PlayStation and Xbox are doing. That's well known. Stadia has been this kind of slow train wreck, kind of picking up the pieces and getting it back together. A lot of their focus has been on third party. We haven't seen them release any first party games. They've been focusing on improving overall service. Here's where this is interesting, is that they have been purchasing studios. They are going to be releasing their first party games, which will be a slow churn up. Like they have to earn that loyalty. They have to earn that brand. Everybody does. Even when Microsoft came into the play, it was PlayStation and Nintendo. So there's a lot of you got to put a lot of money down to be able to play in this game. And so we're going to see them invest and create their own IP. Amazon's doing it backwards in terms of Stadia. Maybe it's the forwards or the correct way. They're working on their games, which are also releasing in the traditional sense, like with New World. New World's coming out on Steam, but they also have this other game, Crucible, in which this is going to be like a third-person action shooter game. Like, honestly, we'll have to wait and see ultimately what it is, but they're working on building out their first party, releasing it within their platform, and also in the cloud. And I think that's going to help get people interested in their games, and just like with Xbox, creating that bridge between the cloud and the console, that ends up helping. PlayStation, to a degree, is doing that as well. And that's why, I'm really curious ultimately to see what PlayStation does over the next couple of years, because again, they were seeing this years before I was. They were making moves, and it's been awfully quiet from them in that regards. But this also comes to a head, and this is kind of where Phil Spencer's interview recently, where he said his competition isn't PlayStation and Nintendo, which is kind of throwing shade, if we're going to be honest about it. but it's Amazon and Google. These are billion, if not like, these are $1 trillion companies at the end of the day. Like, these are a lot. This is a lot of money. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the games. And so the question that I leave to you, and this is a tough one because I want you to kind of dig deep, is that are we seeing an emergence of a new big three? The big three, obviously, for a while, been, it was like Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation came in, Sega went out, Xbox came in. Like, there's always kind of been, it feels like, at least three options. Like, there's a lot of people who've tried the different gaming situation, but like when we're talking about spending billions and billions and billions of dollars, like the question is that will Sony compete? Will Nintendo compete? I'm sure they will for a while, but I can also see lots of partnerships in the future, especially as we see an age of crossplay. This isn't good news, and this isn't saying that this is the way that it needs to be, and this is the future that I want. Outside of crossplay, I do want crossplay within my future. But when I look at how Amazon's doing this, when I look at how Google is doing this, and when I look how Microsoft is doing this, there's also the other connection here, and this is where my conspiracy mind starts going a little crazy. So please indulge me for just a minute. Amazon has Twitch. They have Project Tempo. Google has YouTube. They also have Stadia. Microsoft has Mixer, and they have xCloud. And there seems to be that there's going to be more integration and more connection into content creation and gaming in these platforms, especially when it comes to streaming, because outside of Twitch and Mixer, most of the content, like the content you're consuming this video on, is pre-recorded and uploaded. The rest of it seems to be live. And so ultimately, I wonder if Stadia and YouTube Gaming are going to do things a little bit differently, if they're going to step up or step down or step to the left or change up the game completely, because of what they've been doing recently just isn't working for them as a platform. Now, maybe the numbers show differently, but at least the sentiment, especially when I talk to other creators over on the YouTube platform, it seems to be the same drum beat over and over and over again. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, this for me is always fascinating, and it might not be to you. And if you watched this far, thanks, especially if it wasn't interesting to you. Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, it's gonna get interesting over the next decade. I'm not talking about in the next year. I should have probably opened with that. I know someone's gonna be like, cloud gaming will never be a thing. It might never be a thing, but in the next year, I'm not talking about the next 2 years. Thinking the next 5 to 10 years, where this entire industry is going to go, and hopefully it goes in good ways, in good directions. And the only thing we can do is continue to provide our feedback, vote with our wallets, and hopefully have some fun along the way. Anyway, guys, like I said, love to know your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Talk to you soon. Take care.